Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrew here, back for our build review show. It is Friday, October 25th of 2024, and on this show, I bring users' builds up live on stream, giving them personalized feedback and advice about things that I think that they can do differently in their builds to build and submit stronger lineups into their contests, improve their post-contest sim ROIs as well. So, with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. If you ever want to get signed up, drop your DK username in the office hours channel on our Discord server. Let me know what sport and slate you want me to review, and I will add you to the list for the next show. But with that said, we do have a couple people signed up today who we're going to look at. So the first one is going to be an NBA review for Aggie, and then the second will be a Thursday night football review for Sammy. So let's get these builds up on screen and let's start reviewing. So first one is going to be a FanDuel review. So we're not going to have access to the contest flashback tool, unfortunately, but we should still be able to get in here and do some analysis, at least in the build section, to see what's going on there. So let me get that up on screen and we will start there. 1 second. All right. Here we go. So SaberSim coming up now. We're going to start in the contest tab, still looking at the contest selection. So we have a really healthy balance between single entry and 3 max and 150 max here. This is kind of what we were talking about yesterday. There was a user who I was talking about their contest selection, and this is like a way better way to spend $14. You get nice, basically like 50-50 split between your single entries, 3 maxes, and 150 maxes, and you get so many lineups this way, right? We're looking at 156 lineups, so this is great. Good job. We do see a swap build. I'm assuming for this late window, that's perfect. We love to see that swap. Now let's go into the build that you started with. So what do we see? Default min-max salary, I think. 5K lineups, no filters, no rules, no lineup filters. Using target ROI, using autofill. Looks like they are ranked here by prize pool. That's good. Unique lineup in every entry. Good. Let's open up the player table again. Okay, let's go to exposures. So we do see a number of maximum exposures here. And, you know, this is I actually talked about it with this user on office hours today. So I don't want to spend too much time on it because we did clarify this earlier. But for anybody who missed that, right, if you guys are tuning into this and didn't tune in earlier, be really careful using max exposures in single entries because, you know, you see this 60% max exposure to Naz Reid. Well, when we're using autofill, we're going through these one at a time, right? We're unchecking them all. We're checking one contest. We're filling it. We're moving on to the next, right? So I can see in the single entry, you know, all these players have 100% exposure, right? You're not going to get a player if you have a maximum exposure to them before you do the autofill, right? So I don't know if they like set these up after or whatever it is, but that should not work, right? The builder's going to look at this and be like, hey, you know, you have 45% exposure. In order for this player to be in the lineup, they need to have 100% exposure, and it's going to skip the line and put that player and then go down to the next one, the next one, the next one, right? So I've seen that be a trouble thing for users that write into support. Like, hey, you know, I thought I was going to get this top lineup, but I got one that was like way lower down. What happened? And they had max exposures for like, it was a showdown. They had max exposure for every captain except the one they got. And it's like, oh, okay, that's why you got this lineup, because this was the only lineup that wasn't handicapped by the max exposure. So this user knows that now, but it's good to mention in case anybody missed that. Now, as far as the max exposures go, They don't look bad to me, right? A lot of them are like over the and the user was like, you know what? I want to manage my risk a little bit. So I'm going to set an exposure cap. I think these values that you set are totally fine. I don't have a big problem with them. You're not forcing anybody in via min exposure. So it's mostly just risk management here. I think that's good. And notice they're doing it in the all tab, which is the right place to do it. You don't want to do it in the positional sections. And we're just verifying that, but that looks right. Okay, stack exposures, all available. They did cap game stacks across the board. It looks like most of these are closer to their pool percentage, except for one. I think it's okay. Remember that a game stack is a lineup that has one player on one team and one player on the other team. So, you know, it's not like the worst thing. I mean, if you have a lineup, I don't know, with like Jordan Poole and like Jason Tatum, like, are you that worried about it? You know what I mean? So take this with a little bit of a grain of salt. I think it's fine to put them close to like their pool percentages. At least most of these are. So I don't think it's a big deal. Nothing in team stacks. And we walk through the players. So all in all, I would say that I think this user is doing a lot of the right things here. You know, unfortunately, we can't look at the post contest sim ROI because FanDuel doesn't give us access to that contest data. But from looking at this build, I would say that, you know, this user is doing a lot of the right steps, and there's nothing in here that I mark as like a red flag or doing wrong or like you shouldn't do this. Everything in here seems pretty good. So keep going, you know, keep working on this. I think that this is good, and I would be satisfied with this process. All right. Good stuff there. Going to move on to our next user, which is going to be Sammy, and we're going to be reviewing some Thursday night football for Sammy. So let's go back to yesterday. Let's go to NFL, and we'll go to the Vikings and the Rams. And let's get this up on the screen. So loading now. Going to start in the contest tab. Playing 2 low dollar 20 maxes. These are both good contests to play. So like that. Let's pop into one of these guys. Sammy is curious to see how they are grading out here. So drum roll. We'll let this load. All right. So pop over to users. 20 lineups for Sammy. Sort by sim ROI. All right. So good news. They are 25% positive sim ROI. So that's really good. You know, so these 20 maxes, it's a little bit harder to tell when people are running trains, like unfortunately, which is like where they run the same lineup in all 20 entries. Which skews the sim ROI numbers a little bit. You'll always notice that people with one, like if you play one lineup once or you play one lineup 150 times, the sim ROI is going to be the same, which kind of throws it off a little bit. But I'm not sure what the right sim ROI numbers are here. It's usually like a little bit lower than what you see. So we're seeing like 45 to like 55 being the highest. I would guess that like 35 to 45 is like kind of the range you want to be in, and they're at 25. So they're very close to the top here. So this looks good. Now let's see some of these lineup metrics. 49.1 salary looks good, right? Leaving a little salary on the table. Average dupes is 18. Unique lineups is 2, and then 5 under 5, right? So striking a bit of a balance here. So this is good. Sim average score 91, in line with a lot of these other ones, right? We see a range. We see 90, we see 97, we see 89, we see 93, 94, 91. So we say projection matters, and it does, right? But there's always like this band. It's not like the highest projected is the best. you could be like 5 points under and still have like a really strong set of lineups. So they're right within the band that they need to be. So that part's really good. All right. Keeping it going. Let's jump over to the build. And what do we see in this build? So 5K lineups, minimum salary 0, max salary 49.6, automatically leaving some salary on the table. Totally fine. Something Sammy does often. Sammy always has a couple rules. We've gone through these, and I've determined that I think that they're fine and that they're not hurting their process. See, one lineup filter, ROI greater than 0. I think that's a good one to have on. We do see a lot of exposures here. Doesn't seem like it's hurting their lineup, so I'm not going to say not to do it. I would just be careful, right, with all of these really, really tight bands. It seems like they may have used match exposure to ownership. And one thing I would always be aware of is how it affects some of the lower projected players. Like, it gives them this very, very tight window. What I like to do for like the lowest projected players is come in and like manually adjust them. So all these players that are, probably in this like 5% or less range, I would set their minimum. Sorry, I said set their minimum to 0, set their maximum to 5. That way it just gives the builder a little bit more flexibility. And that would be like one thing I would do different here. But that's super small. That's just more like to help you out. Oh, wow. They use match exposure to ownership on flexes as well. I mean, it seems to be working out, in the post-contest sim, so I'm not going to say not to do it. See some minor adjustments to projections here. Most of them are minor. There's like one big one to Ty Chandler, and then like he didn't score at all. So I don't know if he didn't play or got hurt or what. That one kind of sucks. And then I would do the same thing for match exposure to ownership on this end as well. But all in all, the builder likes what you're doing in the post-contest sim, so I think you're on the right track. I know Sammy was like setting min and max exposures before, but I had never seen them use the match exposure to ownership. And so it seems like they're doing something a little bit different in that regard, and it seems to be working for them. So more power to you. Keep it up. One other thing Sammy said also, did you find out about that contest sim? Is it on my end? We've seen it, but we haven't been able to consistently reproduce it. So it's something that our team is kind of monitoring and keeping an eye on. But I did send those notes over to our team to dive into. So I think like we're keeping a keen eye out for that in case it comes up again. But all right, that was our last user for today. So appreciate everybody tuning in. I will be back on Monday for the build review. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.